Everyone tells you to identify your strengths. What if that's the wrong approach? In a world full of 8 billion people, most people never tap in to their full potential. It's not about obsessing over your strength, it's about identifying your weaknesses and pushing through them and realizing growth happens when you break the rules. Are you ready to challenge the norm and redefine success? Let's flip the script on what you've been told. Elon Musk, who is dyslexic, talks about having a feedback loop. This is so important to success. You need a way that you can look at things that you're trying and to see how successful they are. And you also sometimes need outside input, but don't overemphasize the outside input. Pick yourself. You know what is working if you are objective in looking at things. But if you can't get a good picture of what's going on, then have people around you that will help give you feedback on what is working and what is not working. Someone else speaking into it can help you identify what you're doing really well, or if you're subjective and you can look at the results, you can determine what you're really good at. Part of the strength of dyslexia is being able to see things differently and approach things differently. Again, you need a feedback loop to refine what you're doing, but don't be afraid to approach things differently because that is part of your strength. When something is important enough, we do it regardless of the odds. And that is part of the feedback loop that is helpful. Even if the odds aren't in your favor, you still pursue things if they're important enough. You determine what is important, what is worthy of grinding out and pushing through the difficulties. With dyslexia, you may find that there's a lot of things that are more difficult, but you also are seeing opportunities that potentially other people aren't seeing. So just because it's hard, don't give up, but make sure you have a feedback loop so that you can press through and do the difficult things. Your ability to see things differently will help open the door, but the feedback loop will help you be successful.
Hey, just a quick pause. Thanks for watching. I'm Adam Robinson. I run the Dyslexic Hustle. If you want to support us, please subscribe.
Warren Buffett, who's also dyslexic, talks about self-improvement being one of the best things that you can invest in. Because if you grow and you are self-aware to be able to identify the things that you're great at and maybe the things that you're not great at, focus on the vehicle that is going to help accelerate you into the things that you want to accomplish. Sheryl Sandberg nails it when she talks about self-awareness being the first step to leveraging your strengths into success. As a dyslexic, that is important because recognize that our brains work differently is a damn good thing, but you need to recognize where it's beneficial and where it's positive and where maybe you have weaknesses. Satya Nadella says, the best work happens when it's not just work, but it's something that's going to improve other people's lives. Here's the truth. When you align your strengths, especially the ones created by dyslexia, with work that matters, you don't just succeed, you create an impact. You change the game. You show the world that thinking differently isn't a limitation, it's a superpower. So to recap, a feedback loop is crucially important. Elon Musk talks about having a healthy feedback loop so that you can learn from your experiences. You need to have people around you that are smart like you or smarter than you that will give you good information, won't sugarcoat it, so you can quickly achieve the things that you want. Let's talk about past successes. These are great ways to help you identify some of your strengths. If you look back and you were successful at something, or there was parts of something that you were successful at, start to analyze that. That's part of that feedback loop, and you can look at it and see what you did well and what you did poorly. Some of that stuff that you did poorly may be a lack of experience. It may not be that it wasn't a strength, it just was inexperience. So maybe you need to double down and become an expert at that thing so that you can really capitalize on the strengths that you have within that area. It may be an area where it's like, man, it doesn't matter what I do, this is not going to work well. I need to bring in an expert to help me with this or to take over this portion of the thing. Or you may find that it's a situation where you're just not good at it and you need to bring in an expert to take over that portion. Experimenting and adapting. This is another strength that we can harness as dyslexics, is we can try new things, push yourself, do things that are difficult. You know, you always have to mitigate the risk but you also want to test the boundaries and see how far you can go and what it is that you can really accomplish if you push yourself. Because the great thing about dyslexics is most of the time they are really good at adapting and changing and being creative. So if you look at something, you're like, well, I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna try this. And then you get in the middle of it, you're like, well, this isn't working, so I'm gonna change this and this and this. And you start to make little tweaks and it helps you push through and find opportunities where other people just walk by. Consider what you find effortless. Using the other tools that we've talked about, identify the things that you can do with the lowest amount of effort, and then put all your effort into it, and you will exponentially grow past what other people are doing. So stop playing by everyone else's rules. Flip the narrative, embrace your dyslexia, and use it to uncover strengths that no one else will see coming. Because once you start leaning into your edge, you will be unstoppable.